Okay, thank you for attending today. I'm Corey Lupardi, the moderator for this session, Growing Membership, How to Have an Attractive Club. And now I'd like to introduce your trainer, Marilyn Hopkins.
Well, thank you so much, Corey. And I want to say thank you for being our moderator today. I think we got very lucky. Corey is really good at this. So thank you so much. Welcome to Growing Membership, How to Have an Attractive Club. And just a little bit about myself before we get started. First of all, I'm going to be taking over for Corey as the membership chair for District 5020 in July. I've had the chance to be on the membership committee for the last 2 years. And also, I have the honor and privilege to sit on the membership committee for Rotary International for 1 year as a guest member back in 2017-18. And that was quite an experience and learned a lot from it. Also, most important, I'm a member and a past president of the Rotary Club of Gig Harbor, Midday. So welcome everybody. So let's head on to the agenda today. First of all, I just want to talk briefly about the state of Rotary membership. And then we'll talk about how we can assess your club, because we want to have a vibrant, exciting club for our members. And then we'll talk about membership attraction. And then we're going to finish up with some discussion time. And I want to touch a little bit on the COVID-19 pandemic during that discussion because it's affecting everything that we do in our lives. So I think it's important that we talk at least for a little bit about that. Let's get started then with the state of Rotary membership. In 2016, the Council on Legislation granted clubs greater flexibility. Based on considerable research and pilot programs, they determined that when clubs have freedom to determine how they hold their meetings, who they invite to membership, and what defines engagement, the club is more vibrant and more able to grow. They eliminated limitations on how Rotary clubs conduct their meetings and made it possible for clubs to meet only twice per month. They also decided that social events or service projects count as meetings. And fortunately for all of us now, they said that clubs do not have to meet in person and a meeting can be held online. They also recognize that attendance requirements are no longer an appropriate way to define member engagement. In addition, they provided clubs greater flexibility in membership types. You know, Rotary International recognizes only 2 types of membership, active and honorary. However, clubs may offer additional membership types such as corporate, family, or other types, or associate. So with all this change, many people ask, is Rotary putting their brand at risk? And the answer to that is absolutely not. We are all still business, professional, and community leaders. Our qualifications for membership have not changed. And the 4-way test, one of our most important distinguishing features, has not changed. We are still Rotary. On this slide, gives us just a general picture of our district membership and for the past 5 years. And you'll notice that as a district, we have grown in terms of clubs. Back in 15-16, we had 89 clubs. Today, we have 92 clubs in District 5020. And then if you look at membership, we were larger back in 2015-16, but we went down, and 2018-19 was kind of a rough year. We've come back up this year, probably because we chartered 2 new clubs, so we're at 4,644 members currently. Also, if you look at our membership, about 4.44% of our members are under age 40, so that's a couple hundred members. And our existing member retention and new member retention, you notice both around 92 to 93%. And so we're not doing too badly, but we could do better on retention, I think.
Friends and fellow Rotarians, our new strategic plan is an ambitious document laying out the framework for the Rotary we want to see in the years ahead. Its priorities are increasing our impact, expanding our reach, enhancing participant engagement, and increasing our ability to adapt. In all of these priorities, our members are key, for our members are the ones who do the work that Rotary is here for and create the experiences that make Rotary what it is. We need to grow Rotary. The stronger and more diverse our membership, the more ambitious we can be in our service, and the more attractive we will be to the kinds of women and men who will bring the most to Rotary. But a strong and diverse membership does not happen by itself, nor will it happen if our approach to membership is simply exhorting our members to invite their friends. We need to focus on membership in a way that is structural, not individual. Instead of asking, who do we know? Ask, who are we missing? What vocations, what organizations, what positions in the community do we need, and who are the people who fill those positions? Just as important, what value do we have to offer these people in our clubs? What do we need to do to help the people we attract to Rotary become truly engaged, valuable, and lifelong members? Membership is not just a priority in Rotary, it is Rotary. To grow Rotary, we need to give our membership the same attention we give to all our Rotary service, to all of the ways that Rotary connects the world.
Well, as you heard in that video, Rotary understands the importance of their members. You know, in my professional life, I'm an HR director for a bank, and so I totally understand that people are important and are what defines an organization's success, and members are what defines the success of Rotary. So let's take a look at how we can assess our clubs. You'll notice that Rotary has a great tool, and it's called the Rotary Club Health Check. And it's designed to help clubs diagnose problems, areas, and prescribe remedies. It includes checklists to quickly diagnose what needs extra attention in a club. It also makes suggestions of resources that you can use and ideas that you can put into place to improve problems that you might be having with your club. On this next slide, it talks about how we can also gather information about the health of our club by talking to our members and also to others in the community. You know, a great way to gather information is through informal discussions with small or large groups. And these can be held in a location other than your usual meeting place. You know, maybe it's over coffee, or maybe it's over some wine. It's just great to get together in smaller groups and find out what people are thinking about your club. I know recently we had a virtual dinner for 8, and we used that time to talk about what we could do differently in my club that I'm a part of. Another great way to gather information is through just face-to-face interviews, sitting down one-on-one with people and asking them what they think about the club and what needs to change. And then I think a great tool for an incoming president is to start the year off with a survey. And Rotary has a great tool called Enhancing the Club Experience that can be used for this purpose, and you can find it on their website. And then focus groups are also another great way to gather information. These can be done with certain groups of members, with prospective members, or even non-Rotarians in your community. On the next slide, it says, or I ask you, is your club diverse? And you know, the strongest and most effective clubs reflect the demographics of the communities that they serve. And when we think about diversity, we're talking about gender balance of your club. You know, are you all male? Are you all female? What's the balance? You know, how many of your club's members are under the age of 40? It's always good to get different ideas, and I think different groups of age groups bring in different ideas that are important to your club. You know, is the ethnic makeup of your community represented in your club? And then do your club's leaders reflect the diversity that one would expect based on its members? If you're a club of 50 women and 50% male, but all of your club leaders are male, you might have an issue that you need to address. And then are different perspectives welcomed? People need to feel that they can be who they are in your club. And I know down here in the States, there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of politics. And I've heard people say, I'm just not comfortable because of the politics that are being discussed in the club. So we have to take steps to make sure that everybody feels welcome. And, diverse clubs are seen by their communities as more credible, and they draw upon a wider range of skills and greater volunteer resources, leadership prospects, and also they have a lot more fundraising potential. On the next slide, it asks, do your club's members represent a good balance of professions? I think it's important that we do have a nice variety of professions in our clubs because we all bring unique skills that will increase the club's capacity, I think, to serve the communities that we want to serve. And Rotary has a wonderful tool that you can use for this purpose to assess whether or not you do have a good variety of professions. And it's called Representing Your Community's Professions. So get to know your members' unique skill sets and involve them in your club's committees and projects. Put your members' strengths to work. They'll be happier and you'll be happier too and more successful. Why do members stay in your club and why do members leave? Something I do with my employees at work is I do stay interviews every year with them to find out what they like about the company, what they like about their job, what they'd like to see change. And I also do exit interviews with employees when they leave to find out why they're leaving and what we could have done better to have kept them. I think the same concept works in Rotary. And, you can complete the assessment analysis in improving your member retention that Rotary provides. And then have your membership committee evaluate the results and discuss them at a club meeting. And then ask members to suggest specific strategies and activities to keep the members engaged and involved. And then, is your club innovative and flexible? Your club's success really does depend on its ability to adapt and evolve. And we really are learning that right now with everything that we're going through. You want your club to be innovative and flexible, and you want your members to feel that you are doing things that accommodates their interests, as well as their work, their family, and their personal needs. And being accommodating can make your club, I think, much more attractive, and it will make the members much more loyal and enthusiastic about Rotary and your club in general. And then, does your community have a strong awareness of your club? One of the best ways to recruit members is to make sure your community knows what you do. And so I think it's important when you have a function, when you do a fundraiser, get the press involved. Invite the newspaper or invite people to come see what you're doing. Send out press releases. And I want you to know that Rotary has a lot of great information on their website in the Brand Center that you can use to help you do this. And they have brochures and inserts and things that you can just customize for your own particular needs. But get the word out about who you are and use these tools. And then don't forget to use digital communications to promote your club. And I think most clubs are doing a pretty decent job of this from what I have seen. Some of the platforms that I see clubs using include Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And, be creative and be sure to check out the resources on the Rotary website for some great content, because they do have great content that you can just download and use, and it makes it very easy to get information out about Rotary. And then remember, the power of social media lies in its ability to reach a broad audience. And then there's your club image. How does your club appear to a non-member? Ask a friend or family member to try to locate the following information that you see listed here about your club. Sometimes we take all this stuff for granted because we hear about it all the time, but sometimes other people aren't so sure about it. Do they know what your club does if they go to your website? Can they determine how often you meet? Will they be able to tell where the next meeting is and when it will be and how long it's going to last? If they do want to attend a meeting, are they supposed to contact someone in the club before visiting? Is there a cost to the visitor for attending? And what can they expect at the meeting? What will it be like? And then what does your club do besides holding meetings? Your website really is important to advertising your club and making it available to others. And then it's important to think about your club experience. Often the strong Rotary brand attracts interested members of the community to your club, but when they visit, the experience doesn't match their expectations. So, think about what happens when somebody comes to your club. Is someone responsible for welcoming the member and guests to meetings and events? Are your club meetings and events well organized and run professionally? Are your club meetings interesting, insightful, and relevant? Is there sufficient variety in how you meet and what you do when you meet? Do your club's practices accommodate member needs and interests? And do you have regular social events? A lot of us do join Rotary because we love the social part of it. Another thing to consider when assessing your club is, what kind of service projects are you involved in? Are they inspiring and enjoyable for everyone involved? And do they make a significant impact? Does your club have a signature project that all members are involved in? I know my club, we do a couple of major events each year, and it's all hands-on when we do these events. And it's great for bringing people together and engaging people. Do your service projects address a current need in your community? And needs do change with time. And so it's always important to look at what you're involved in. And do they draw upon members' talents and expertise? Because that certainly makes it easier if they do. And then does your club invite non-members, maybe family, friends, colleagues, Rotary alumni, Rotaractors, and other community members to participate in and be a part of these service projects? It's a great way to recruit members. And don't forget to follow up with them afterwards. So now let's take a look at some of the tools you can use to attract members to your club. There can be as many types as memberships now as clubs want. Rotary allowed us to be creative in the types of memberships that we offer. Some of the more popular ones that I hear and see about are associate or introductory memberships, corporate membership, family membership, young professionals memberships, satellite membership. But there's also those other types, so you can just do whatever you want. So be creative, and you can go to this link here that's in the PowerPoint where you can get some information about these different types of memberships. But let's just talk briefly about them. So first of all, associate memberships, how do they work? Well, your club can define an associate membership pretty much however they wish to define it. Clubs often use it as a trial period to engage prospective members, and they are reported as active members only once they join your club. So they receive all the benefits that other active dues-paying members enjoy, and then are also included in the membership count, but only after they decide to join. So hopefully they will after being in this role as an associate member. On the next slide, it talks about corporate memberships. And I think corporate memberships are a great way to grow your club. Corporate memberships can be a very attractive option for organizations who have multiple employees who would like to be involved in Rotary. And on the next slide, it talks about a couple of different models of how you might set up a corporate membership. First of all, model number one, a primary corporate member pays dues, and then there's a selected number of alternate members that also are allowed to participate, often 1 to 3, who don't pay dues, but can attend club meetings in place of the primary member. This model only counts the primary corporate member as an active member of Rotary. Another model for corporate membership is where the club charges a flat rate of dues for a certain number of corporate members. Often that number is 3 to 5. and all are able to regularly attend the club's meetings. RI dues are paid by all of the members, and they're included in that flat rate. This model allows all the corporate members to be full, active members of the club and count in your club's membership data. Now, on the next slide, it talks about family membership. And family membership is in some ways similar to a corporate membership. Alternate members are often young adult children, or a partner, or a spouse of the primary member. Alternate members can attend in the primary member's place or come along with the family member who is the Rotarian. And I know in our club, we offer a family membership, and they both pay Rotary International dues, but they only pay one lunch fee. And so if both of them happen to show up for lunch, that second person just pays for lunch that day. And it just is a nice way to get all the members of a family involved in the club. I know long before I became a Rotarian, I was a spouse of a Rotarian, and I know how much I enjoyed that. So next slide talks about young professional membership and this is a way to alleviate the cost of Rotary on a Rotaractor or someone earlier in their career. And I know some clubs are doing this, and they offer membership at a reduced rate for that young person. And so the club, in a sense, ends up subsidizing that membership. I know my club does this, and we have a limit on the number that we will offer within our club because we know it costs us money to do it, but it helps us to recruit some younger members to our club. And the young members are the future of our Rotary membership. Another great option is to start a Rotaract club. And Rotaractors are young people ages 18 to 30. Rotaract clubs, must have a Rotary club sponsor, so they can't just do it on their own. They have to have a club sponsor. But it is possible for up to 3 Rotary clubs to co-sponsor a Rotaract club. So, for example, where I live here in Gig Harbor, we have 3 Rotary clubs. All 3 of us could go together and sponsor a Rotaract club. The 2019 Council on Legislation expanded the membership of Rotary to include both Rotary and Rotaract. And it's also possible for a Rotaractor to be a part of a Rotaract club and also be a member of a Rotary club if they wish to, as long as they pay the required dues for each. Another nice option, and I think works well for many clubs, is just simply to start a satellite club. So you can form a satellite club with 8 members. And satellite club members are Rotarians, and they pay Rotary dues, and they're actually a member of the sponsoring club. And however, they hold regular meetings that are separate from the sponsoring club. They can have bylaws and a board, and they get involved in community service projects. So it's just a great way to expand the reach of your club. And sometimes those satellite clubs end up being a part of your club. Sometimes they decide to become a club of their own if they end up with enough members. So how do you approach a prospect? First of all, I say get to know the person a bit before you invite them to a club meeting. Make sure they're a good match for your club. Share information with them about your club activities and the causes, and figure out why they might be interested in Rotary. And then tell your Rotary story. Tell them why you like Rotary and why you got involved and why you've continued to be a member. And then, of course, invite them to a club meeting and make sure you're going to be at that club meeting too, so you can introduce them to everybody. And then be patient, because they probably are going to need to come to more than one club meeting before they are going to make a decision as to whether or not they want to be a Rotarian. And then how do you find prospects? Well, I always tell my employees at work that they are my best recruiters. And I really mean that. And I do think our members are our best recruiters also. So, design a meeting or an event that's focused on potential new members, and then encourage everyone to bring a guest to that particular meeting. Maybe it's a meeting where you have an extra special speaker, or maybe it's more of a social event where you just talk about Rotary a bit. Or another option is have a Rotary reunion. And, reach out to past members and invite them to come back, for old time's sake. Quite often, people leave due to changes in circumstances, like they take new jobs, they have changes that take place that allow them not to attend a meeting a certain day that you meet on. Maybe things have changed in their life, and maybe they would like to come back and participate again, but they've just been kind of shy and wanting to call and ask about that, or maybe feel uncomfortable calling. So invite them to a club meeting, and you never know, they might just want to join up again. So at this point, I'd like to have a little bit of a discussion. And I want to do this, before we do this, I want to ask you a couple of polling questions. The first polling question that I want to ask you is, how would you evaluate your club's willingness to take risks and be innovative? And I'm going to give you 3 options here to choose from. First of all, my club is very innovative and finds change exciting. My club is somewhat innovative and willing to adopt new ideas if motivated. Or my club is not very innovative and does not adapt to change easily. Well, very interesting. Looks like majority, about 59% of us say my club is somewhat innovative and willing to adopt new ideas. So I think that's great. And, I'm really pleased to say that only 18% say that their club is not very innovative and does not adapt to change. So this is very helpful. So I want to follow this up with another question. So this next question is a follow-up. Would your answer have been different several months ago prior to COVID-19 if you had been asked to answer that previous question? Yes, no, possibly, or not sure. And, I guess based upon the previous results, 67% of you said no, it would not have changed anything. So I guess that's not so bad. A few of you said, 12%, that it would change things, that COVID-19 has made us more open to flexibility and change. Now I just want to open this up to discussion. And, COVID-19, I think, really has changed the way we connect and has expanded our possibilities, especially with technology. I mean, here we are today doing our district training on Zoom. So I'm curious, what are you learning during this shelter in place that we can use and build upon to increase member engagement, including opportunities for connection, service, leadership development, and added value? And also, what action steps can your club take to leverage what you are learning now into the future?
Just use the digital raise the hands, and we'll be happy to hear from people now. And if you'd like to unmute your video, you feel free. We do have, in the meantime, a couple of questions from the chat, and we might as well address those right now. So the first question is, in lieu to the transitioning to online meetings and the different types of membership, it says, is RI recognizing and charging the club a difference for the different types of memberships?
Now, run that by me one more time, the last part of it.
Yeah, so they were asking whether or not if you have reduced memberships for, say, young adults or families, if Rotary International is offering a discount to clubs based on that.
No, they are not. Rotary dues remain the same.
Okay. And then the other question we had was, the RI dues make up about 40% of clubs' annual dues, and has RI, the district's offered some breaks to clubs that are struggling. Has RI considered reducing or deferring the dues for the upcoming year?
I have not heard anything about that. I know, Greg, are you on the call? Have you heard anything in that area?
No, it's been suggested and discussed, but no movement has been in that direction. I think they're holding fast on the dues.
So now I'm going to unmute Hal Hodgins, who has his hand up.
Hello, Hal.
Hi. Hey, Marilyn. Nice job.
Thank you.
I'm president of the Gig Harbor Morning Rotary Club, and what we've been doing that's been kind of fun with Zoom is it enables us. So we've been having Zoom meetings. We haven't actually missed any meetings. We had a Zoom meeting right after we quit meeting live, And it's been kind of evolving, but our meetings normally start at 7:30, but we invite people to tune in at 7, so people are unmuted and just have a chance to kind of talk back and forth with each other. But what I want to focus on is that we have a featured former exchange student every week, and some of the other exchange students tune in regularly. So we've got people tuning in from Norway and Denmark and all over the world, basically South America. But we'll have whoever's featured. Typically, people will kind of visit with them and ask what's going on and so forth informally. And then during the business part of the meeting, we give them 5 minutes to make a little presentation about how their life has evolved since they left us. What's their vocational or educational path look like, and of course of interest, what's going on in terms of COVID-19 in their country. So it's enabled us, and then it'll be kind of fun before the meeting. We'll have exchange students that never actually met each other, and they're visiting with each other, through Zoom, that we can all be part of their conversation or hear their conversation, sharing their experiences. So that's something we never were able to do before. So that's been kind of a plus.
That's great. I know my club has also featured some of our exchange students from past years, and it's a lot of fun to hear what they're experiencing in their countries and to hear what they're doing now too. So thank you for sharing that, Hal.
My pleasure.
So Steve, you have your hand up and you're now unmuted.
Yes, I am unmuted. A couple of things. First of all, I have been attending Rotary meetings via Zoom in Australia. We came back about 6 months ago from an RFE there. So it's allowed me to participate fairly regularly in international meetings. Secondly, I consider myself a technologist, having worked all my life in technical fields. And I am so impressed with what not only our Paulsbo Rotary Club has done with Zoom, but what the district has done. This is just awesome. I sat in the first session this morning. I sat in, it was on virtual reality, and it was just awesome. So I am really impressed with what Rotary is doing using all these tools.
Thank you for sharing that, Stephen, and hello.
Hello. I think I'm signed up for someone you know quite well later in the day.
Okay, great.
So anyone else want to share? It looks like Brian has his hand raised.
Yes, I'd like to ask, as far as corporate membership, do you see situations where you have more than 3 or 5 or unlimited number, where somebody may have a dozen of their employees attend meetings on a regular basis, and maybe they just pay the flat dues to the district and an RI?
Well, every club has to set it up for their particular needs, and you want to make sure you set it up well. I mean, if you want to set it up so you can have up to 12 corporate members, just price it accordingly, though. You want to make sure that you cover your costs, particularly if you're setting up where everybody's going to be a member of RI. But you can set it up however you wish to do. There's some flexibility in how you do that.
The typical model does generally cap it at 4 members from one organization. And that only one of those is a voting member on the board.
And that's where you have one member that's a Rotary member. But if you have more than one Rotary member, then it can be a little bit different.
But actually, the encouragement is that you only have one voting member so that the corporation can't control the club, basically.
I guess our corporations aren't that large in our club.
I believe it's Paul.
All right, thank you, Corey. I'm in the East Jefferson Rotary Club. I'm the current president, and our club for many years has met on Thursdays at noon at the same place, doing the same thing. I think, one of the benefits, if you look at it on the bright side of what's happening with COVID-19 meeting virtually, I think it's increased our ability to think more creatively and to be a little disruptive in a positive way. So I'm going to take this opportunity We have some members who are a little bit younger, which is great, and they want to do some projects. They want to actually not just participate in a meeting, but do hands-on. So going forward, my plan is to meet at the current location one time a month, meet at a different location, which is where the majority of our members live, which is Port Ludlow. Another meeting will be a social meeting, which will be at 5 o'clock at a local establishment once we're able to gather again. And the fourth meeting per month would be a working meeting. And that means we're going to invite 4 different charitable organizations to come and meet with us and tell us what we could do hands-on. And that would be the additional meeting. So the hope of doing this is that we can attract more members, we can be more diverse in what we do and how we do it, and possibly attract more attention by the community to see what Rotary is actually doing, because we'd be not cloistered in the same room every week.
That sounds like a great idea. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks.
Looks like Steve actually has a question.
Okay, Steve.
This is an update on something that Bob Martin and I are working on. Those who don't know, Bob was a past district governor. We have met with the president of Olympic College and some of the senior staff about establishing a Rotary Club at Olympic College, which would be supported by as many Rotary clubs in the area. It's not a satellite of anybody's club. It's a full standing Rotary club as it's currently being conceived. We've got full support of senior staff, the president, and have identified a person who will eventually become the president. So that's a membership initiative that we learned in the RFE in Australia. There are 2 universities in the district we visited that have on the campus full-blown Rotary clubs. Our experience, at least mine, is that we haven't been successful in establishing a lasting Rotaract club at Olympic College. But given the Australian models, we think we can do a full-blown regular Rotary club there. So that's something that we're working on. We're involving the district governors, and we'll involve district assistant governors. So that's just an initiative that we are pioneering now. We'll see how it works.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. We need to talk some more about that, Steve. Okay. Do we have another hand that's raised, Corey?
Let me see here. Yes, we do. Brent has his hand raised.
This is Brent Olson, Bainbridge Island Rotary Club. There's a couple things I'd like to share as suggestions to fellow members of this Zoom session. First, having to do with the idea of looking for prospects in your club. Something that our club has done, and I've recommended to other clubs over the year, is that you talk about Rotary prospects, potential members of your club. Sometimes if you don't have a mechanism for tracking those prospects within your membership committee and within the club itself, you are going to lose track of good potential members that just because of one failure of a follow-up or something like that, you've lost them. So there is a need to kind of have a membership committee that kind of coordinates and focuses on who are the prospects that we have in mind in our collective club, whether it be 20 or 120. How do you keep track of those people so that they've come to one meeting and nobody knows why they never showed up again? Maybe nobody invited them again. So you have a lot of problems just keeping track of prospects, particularly if you're a larger club, they can fall between the cracks. So my suggestion is that each time your membership committee meeting, you have before you a spreadsheet that is basically a prospect list, and that you have some basic rules of the game. Our rules are that anyone that shows up at a meeting as a prospect until somebody rules them out, but there may be people that we add to that list just because we know there should be outreach to that individual. We keep somebody on the list until we have reason not to keep them on the list. And that means that each membership committee, we have to review that and find out, are we following up? Are we not? Are there actions to be taken further? That sort of thing. So this sort of mechanism of keeping a prospect list and the membership committee keeping it in front of them, or the officers being kind of aware of that and what's going on, is very valuable to make sure those people that might be interested you're following up on. The second thing is trying to create a list, name-specific list of those people in the community. You've talked about it earlier, to protect sectors in the community we should have people from, or think about putting those people on the prospect list and then doing something about outreach to them. So just don't leave it, say we need more people from this sector of the community. Figure out who are the candidates. And if you can't solve that in one membership committee meeting, bring it up again until you get some candidates for that particular sector or classification in the community. So I leave those two suggestions with you: a spreadsheet to keep track of prospects, and the idea of positively generating prospects that go on that list that may not be just people that show up, but maybe people that should be showing up by invitation.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's very important to remember. Thank you.
So we do have a comment in the chat and a question. Basically, they're asking if anyone has been inducting members that they've only met virtually. And I know that anecdotally, a couple of clubs have, but maybe somebody on the call today would like to share their experience with that.
Oh, yes. We just inducted a young lady into our club on Wednesday evening who I've never met. I think she might have attended one regular meeting as a guest before all this happened, but I'm not really sure. I didn't meet her at that meeting, but yeah, it was quite interesting. She attended several of our meetings, virtual meetings, and we inducted her last Wednesday.
Great. You know, employers are hiring people that they never have met in person too these days. So why not Rotary Club members? You know, I just want to end our session today with a quote from Paul Harris that I feel is very appropriate for the current time. You know, it was in 1935 that Paul Harris said, "This is a changing world. We must be prepared to change with it." And, you know, based upon what's happening right now, I think this is very applicable to how we must approach membership as we move forward. And it's something you should always keep in mind as you look at ways to grow your membership and to create an attractive club. Well, then I would just like to say thank you to all of you for attending today. I look forward to working with you this next year.